Well, hello. My name's Misty, and I'm coming to you from my media closet. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I've been wanting to restart this for the longest time. If you're a keen observer, you would notice that I kind of already have a slightly significant number of subscribers, which, if you actually look at my channel, might seem a little odd, and that's because I have a bit of a history that I will not be revealing. It's secret. Well, really, it's more like embarrassing more than secret, but that's not what we're here for today. I wanted to start this new journey off by diving a little into a genre that is very near and dear to my heart. I would say my personal preference in genre for film, and that is the horror genre. My history with this genre is quite extensive. I have so much to say, so many favorites, so many things that I idolize, so many creators that I follow and love, and I would love to share that with the world. My enthusiasm for film in general is something that is part of my daily life. I go to the movies very frequently. I go to my movie theater multiple times a week if I can. I try to catch as many new releases as possible. I rewatch stuff frequently at home. But enough about me. I wanted to talk about the history of horror at the Oscars, since we just recently finished another Oscar season. I wanted to talk about how monumental it was that we have two major acting winners this year that were in horror movies, and I am still shocked that it even happened. Both Michael B. Jordan and Amy Madigan walked away winners Sunday night, and I was so enthusiastic, especially for Amy Madigan, and we're gonna get into that later. But I wanted to talk about the history of the genre at the Academy Awards because it has historically never really been taken seriously. It has so little representation, and I think that the fans love and appreciate this stuff because it really is deeper than a lot of people think. I know that for a lot of folks, the horror genre is just, boo, jump scares, or crazy monsters, and serial killers, and blood, and guts. And yeah, it's all those things, but also it's so much more. And I think that the representation at this year's Oscars really does show how horror can be this wide range of topics and tones, and how it can absolutely win Oscars gold. I'm going to be talking about the winners and the acting categories, as that is what my interest primarily lies in. And I want to take you guys back, all the way back to 1931. That's right. I know a lot of people believe that Rosemary's Baby from 1968 is the first film to take home an Oscar in an acting category, but it was actually Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This film from 1931 won Best Actor for the lead Frederick March, who played, of course, both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I find it so interesting that that was the first representation for horror at the Oscars, which I got from a handy-dandy IMDb list, and the very next film to be represented was also an adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1941. Now, that one was mostly nominated for technical awards, but I did want to mention this first film just because, yes, I've really only heard that the history of horror at the Oscars sort of started with Rosemary's Baby. That's like what most people point to, but I don't know, just wanted to shout this out. So after decades of nominations, we finally got a winner in Ruth Gordon, who won for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Rosemary's Baby from 1968, where she played Minnie Castevet, one of the main villains of the film. And, I know that this is going to get me in some hot water, but I'm going to just say it. Honestly, I didn't really care that much for Rosemary's Baby. The thing is, I saw it quite late in life. I knew all the spoilers. I'd seen like the most famous clips. So when you have that kind of exposure to a film before ever seeing it, the hype is just so great that you kind of expect it to be a sum of all of its greatest moments. And what I didn't realize was that most of the film is really just like a day in the life kind of thing. You follow Rosemary, who goes about her day-to-day life with her husband and then eventually her pregnancy, and how she gets herself involved with this community of neighbors in her apartment building. And I know that for a lot of people that can be quite interesting. I know myself, I love quite a few films out there that are just about observing daily life. That can be quite interesting in cinema. But for some reason, I just wasn't vibing with this movie much. I kind of just really wanted to get to the parts that I had seen over and over again for years. And when it finally got there, yeah, of course, like, it is iconic, but I don't know. It didn't really land for me. Like, I thought that all that time spent just watching her day to day eating and experiencing her pregnancy and just going about things and interacting with the neighbors was not really that interesting for me to justify watching this entire movie to get to the juicy parts. And I'm not afraid to say that. Sorry, not sorry, but also it was directed by Roman Polanski, so I can be a little brutal about it. Mia Farrow, innocent. She was magnificent, and so was Ruth Gordon. I think that the win is absolutely fair. She played a neighbor who at first was quite unassuming, very friendly, a little too invested in this young, stranger, pregnant woman in her vicinity. Like, I know you guys turned out to be friends. Well, you sort of got into her life to become her friend. And so that's why you took such an interest in her pregnancy. And obviously for nefarious reasons. But it's like, it was just way too enthusiastic, a little too involved. And by the time Rosemary finally felt a little like off about the situation, I was like, girl, I would have checked out like so long ago. But I think it was an excellent portrayal of somebody who seems quite nice and, you know, seems motherly and kind, but there's definitely a little something else going on under the surface. And moving on from that, we will not see another winner in the horror genre quite literally for decades, as it was Kathy Bates in 1990's Misery who took home the Oscar for Best Actress.
I don't want her, bitch! I want her! And you murdered her!
I mean, Annie Wilkes. Absolutely iconic. This was another film that I had seen so much of growing up, like clips online. A little bit of a confession, I kind of lived vicariously through Watch Mojo for a little bit in my teen years. I wasn't really allowed for a short period for a couple of years to watch a lot of movies, so that really got to me, and I used YouTube as a way to just sort of take it all in. And I kind of went on a deep dive of videos about a lot of films that I had never seen before, and it really got me interested in watching them in the future. So I had not watched it until about, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and I read the book after. And to be completely honest, this is one of those cases where the book was honestly a little less enjoyable. It's Stephen King. I mean, you can't go wrong with Stephen King. But there were some things in that book that just really got on my nerves after a while, and I was like, okay, we can move on from that. And I felt like the movie was just way more concise, cut out all of that fluff that I found quite annoying, and I think really amplified Annie's sinister nature. Kathy Bates was quite simply amazing in the role. It was that kind of mix of nice, seemingly average woman who can turn absolutely psychotic on a dime. It's terrifying. It's exactly the kind of person that I'd be scared to be in a room with. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do. If I say the wrong thing, you're gonna friggin' break my leg. And she nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And I'm so happy that she won. That was historic. Thankfully, this started a very, very short-lived streak where the very next year, 1991's Silence of the Lambs won for Best Actor and Best Actress for Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster. This is another one. Absolutely legendary. Where it's like, if they hadn't gone home with awards, that would have been a riot. Hannibal Lecter, one of the best portrayals of villains ever. And of course you had Clarice Starling, perfect foil, absolutely on her toes the entire time, trying to engage with this man who is sinister, psychotic, and trying to get in her head, trying to play mind games, but she's trying to stay on top of it, keep it cute, keep it professional, and just trying to get the information she wants. It's honestly very intriguing stuff. I love their conversations. I love the scenes with them. And all the while, you have all the shit going on with Buffalo Bill in the background, which just adds to the tension. Like, you feel that this woman is kind of racing against time here, but she is determined to use this very sinister man to get the information she needs. The odds are very much not in her favor. That's what it seems like, but she knows she's going to get what she wants. I would say that this is the film that has been the most decorated in the horror genre when it comes to the Oscars. It won for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And no other film in the genre since then has won all of those categories. And it would be a while before we see another winner in 2010's Black Swan, where Natalie Portman walked away with Best Actress. Now, Black Swan is obviously amazing, and Natalie Portman was phenomenal in it, but you cannot deny, anybody who has watched both films involved, how much it takes inspiration from this little movie right here. Perfect Blue, my beloved. Darren Aronofsky is no stranger to taking inspiration from this film. In fact, he used a direct shot from Perfect Blue in one of his previous films, Requiem for a Dream, and recreated it. And yet, he denied any inspiration when it comes to Black Swan, which I find ludicrous considering that the central plot premise, like how everything sort of unfolds, is very similar to how things play out in Perfect Blue. Of course, you have the difference between a pop idol versus a ballerina, but it's all about the unraveling of the psyche. It's about how somebody can chase perfection or acceptance in their field or bump from their peers, and it turns out that their own mind is what is destroying their chances at success. I don't know, just wanted to highlight an amazing movie. I love it to death and you should watch it. But on to Black Swan. The plot here focuses on Nina, who is trying to impress her ballet director so that she will get cast in the lead of Swan Lake, which involves playing both the White Swan and the Black Swan. I was always going to be a sucker for this. I love Swan Lake. Anybody that grew up with the Barbie movies, I'm sure you understand my obsession. There was a time in my life when I really wanted to be a ballerina. When I grew up, it was not one of those things that I took as seriously as acting, where that was like my definitive be-all, end-all, I will be an actress when I grow up. Ballet was just something I wanted to do because I thought it was really beautiful. It was graceful, the music that they danced to was amazing, and I wanted to feel that light, that free, that elegant, and create art with my body, basically. Unfortunately, it didn't really take long or much for me to notice that that wasn't really for me. I don't have the stamina and the determination to put my body through the ringer like ballerinas do. It is a very intense art, and this movie highlights how dangerous it can be to put yourself through that much to get a role, to dance to perfection, which really, it's so hard to achieve perfection as this film states. Perfection can look like different things to different people. It can look like effortless, flawless dance moves, precision, technique, which is what Nina was trying to fight for, or it can look like losing yourself completely to the material and making it look effortless. And in her trials to achieve both of those things, to try to reach a sense of perfection that is absolutely undeniable, she loses her goddamn mind. And I think that the win for Natalie Portman was absolutely justified. She absolutely passed for somebody who was putting herself through the ringer for this. Not to mention that she did undergo intensive ballet training for over a year to prepare for that role. She trained up to 5 to 8 hours a day. Like, girl, that dedication has to be awarded. In that case, it was more than just a performance. It was everything that went into it that gave her the win. And you will notice that a lot of historic Oscar wins, when it comes to film in general, involve actors that really put themselves through physical turmoil, weight gain, weight loss, changes like that, that really impact their performance and make it seem way more authentic. Like, of course, that's who ends up getting rewarded because it shows a dedication to the craft. And after Black Swan, we would not see another winner until this year, 2026, when both Michael B. Jordan and Amy Madigan walked away with awards for separate movies on the same night. In general, this year's Oscars were fantastic for horror. While I would have loved for Jacob Elordi to have walked away with Best Supporting Actor, it was not in the cards for him. But that would have been absolutely historic. All 3 horror movies that had nominations in acting categories could have walked away with awards. We almost had something even greater, but oh well, at least we got 2 wins. Now, this long pause in wins could have been broken last year if Demi Moore had been awarded Best Actress for The Substance, which I was rooting for her, but also I really, really, really loved Enora. Like, really loved Anora. So I'm afraid that I did ride the struggle bus last year. I wanted both to win, even though that would have been impossible. If it had been a tie, I would have been happy with it. The Substance is a fantastic movie, and I am still shocked that it got nominated for as many awards as it did. Considering that this is the first time that a film of that particular ilk has been recognized at the Oscars, something so graphic and gross and weird, something that can be quite a turnoff for a lot of general audiences, and yet Oscar voters apparently ate it up. Didn't eat it up enough to really give it a lot of awards that it was nominated for, but I mean, the nominations were still a big deal. And then we have Sinners, the film which received the most historic amount of nominations in Oscars history. However, it also broke another record. It has the most amount of losses compared to the amount of nominations. Oops. No, that seems a bit harsh. I really wish that they had won more awards, but it was such a stacked year. But here we have Michael B. Jordan winning for his dual performances as Smoke and Stack in the film. I think he did a great job of giving each twin a distinct personality, a different voice, a whole different vibe to them. One was a little bit more calm and collected, clearly the more level-headed of the two, and the other was just oozing cool. So honestly, very, very, very deserved award. I watched it twice in theaters and it was amazing every time, and I cannot wait to watch it again to celebrate its wins. And then we have Weapons. I am still in awe. I honestly thought that Amy Madigan was not going to walk home a winner, if only because I thought that Tiana Taylor really had a lot of traction going into award season, and she did win the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, but we got a big surprise. Amy honestly gave my favorite performance of the Best Supporting Actress nominees. She was terrifying. I mentioned this in a TikTok video I made before the Oscars, but it really struck fear into my heart. There's two performances in here. There's the kooky, very, very weird and suspicious Aunt Gladys that she plays to the public, but when she's with Alex, that kind of comes into play at the beginning, and then it's just,
I can make your parents hurt themselves. I can make them hurt each other. I can make them eat each other if I want to.
like, oh my God, you made me shit bricks. There's something about a very unassuming threat. Someone that looks so frail, like they wouldn't actually hurt you, would they? If I just do what they say and I just stay out of their way, they won't hurt me, right? You never know with these kind of people. It looks like they can snap at any moment. And I think she really nailed it. I was absolutely blown away by this performance. It was the best thing about the movie. It was a movie I was already enjoying quite a bit. But then when Alex's segment came into play, I was so much more locked in. Gladys was an icon for like the entire year. So I think it was absolutely a great thing that she won for this. And that's a wrap on my history of horror at the Oscars. Hope y'all enjoyed. This is something I wanted to do since Oscar season just ended, but I want to do a whole lot more content on this channel. The thing I want to focus on most is a mix of analysis and review paired with reaction content, where I can mix in some reactions I have to the film as I'm watching it, and then also talk about it with y'all and go over my thoughts. If that sounds like something you'd want to see, I hope y'all stick around. Watching movies is absolutely one of my favorite things to do in the world, so I would love to be able to share that passion with everybody. But for now, this has been me, signing off.